God is dead.
The philosopher who declared the death of
God, why did he speak of a human being who must overcome the human?
When you first heard these words, what did you think? Did they sound blasphemous? Or did they feel like a strange liberation, as though a doubt you had long carried within, you had finally found language? Either response is understandable. What matters is this. The declaration was not a simple theological provocation. It was an obituary for an era. It was the sound of a massive pillar one that had supported human life for thousands of years, collapsing. And in the dust of that collapse, Friedrich Nietzsche cried out, "What then are we to do?" Imagine 19th century Europe. Smoke from steam engines darkened the sky. The roar of factories swallowed the quiet of the countryside. Charles Darwin announced that human beings were not molded in the image of God, but had evolved from primates. The authority of the church trembled. The foundations of traditional morality cracked. People sensed that something was being lost, yet they could not name it. There was fear, but no language for that fear. Nietzsche had that language, and for that reason, he became a dangerous philosopher. He forced people to confront truths they preferred to avoid. He chose uncomfortable truth over comforting illusion, solitude over applause. He understood the consequences his philosophy might bring, yet he did not stop. On October 15th, 1844, in Röcken, a small village in Prussian Saxony, a child was born. He was the son of a Lutheran pastor, Karl Ludwig Nietzsche. The boy who would one day proclaim, "God is dead," was born into a devout Christian family that had produced theologians and ministers. Young Friedrich was quiet and sensitive. He loved music and cherished reading and writing. Surrounded by his mother, two sisters, grandmother, and aunts, his world was warm and pious, at least while his father lived. When Nietzsche was 5, his father died. The sudden loss left a wound that would never fully heal. A man devoted to God, righteous and faithful, had suffered and collapsed. That image may have planted an early seed of doubt about divine goodness and justice. Without his father, Nietzsche sought refuge in books. His talent was extraordinary. At the prestigious boarding school Schulpforta, he mastered Greek, Latin, and classical literature, astonishing his peers with his linguistic sensitivity. He felt alive in the pre-Christian world. A world where gods were not moral categories of good and evil, and where suffering was faced without illusion. In 1869, at the age of 24, Nietzsche was appointed professor of classical philology at the University of Basel without even holding a doctoral degree. His scholarship was considered so exceptional that formal procedures were waived. It was unprecedented, yet success was accompanied by suffering. Chronic migraines, deteriorating eyesight, nausea, insomnia. His body constantly betrayed him. It was as though a vast intellect were trapped within a fragile frame. The pain that tormented him would later give rise to the words, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." During his professorship, 2 encounters shaped him decisively, one with a book and one with a man. The book was The World as Will and Representation by Arthur Schopenhauer. Nietzsche was shaken. Schopenhauer described the world as blind, while aimless striving without ultimate meaning. Suffering was not an exception. It was fundamental to existence. But where Schopenhauer counseled resignation and denial of desire, Nietzsche chose affirmation. The seed was shared. The flower was different. The man was Richard Wagner. At first, Nietzsche was enthralled. Wagner seemed to resurrect myth through music, demonstrating that art could be philosophy. Nietzsche admired him deeply, but cracks formed. Wagner's growing nationalism and anti-Semitism disturbed him. In Wagner's later works, Nietzsche sensed a retreat into redemption rather than affirmation. Their break was not merely personal, it was philosophical. In 1872, Nietzsche published The Birth of Tragedy. It was harshly criticized, yet it would become one of the most influential works of modern cultural thought. In it, he described 2 artistic drives: the Apollonian order, clarity, form, and the Dionysian ecstasy, chaos, intoxication. Greek tragedy united both, enabling humanity to confront suffering aesthetically rather than deny it. In 1883, 1885, Nietzsche wrote his most famous work, Thus spoke Zarathustra. Here appears the declaration, God is dead. We have killed him. This was not a simplistic denial of God's existence. It was the recognition that the transcendent foundation of values had collapsed. If God had been the source of meaning, morality, and purpose, what happens when that foundation dissolves? Nietzsche saw the abyss of nihilism and insisted that humanity must respond by becoming creators of value. Thus emerges the concept of the Übermensch, the overhuman, not a biologically superior being, nor a racial ideal, but a direction, a symbol. A human who creates values rather than inheriting them, who shapes meaning rather than consuming it. Humanity, Nietzsche wrote, is a rope stretched between animal and overhuman. To stand still is impossible. One must move forward by overcoming oneself. Closely tied to this is the will to power, not domination of others, but self-overcoming. The energy to surpass fear, inertia, and conformity. On the Genealogy of Morality, Nietzsche distinguished between master morality and slave morality. Master morality affirms strength and vitality. Slave morality inverts values, calling weakness virtue and strength evil. His critique was not hatred of the weak, but resistance to disguising resentment as morality. Another central idea is eternal recurrence. Imagine living this exact life, with every joy and sorrow, infinitely repeated. Could you say yes to it? Could you affirm it completely? This is not despair. It is the highest form of affirmation. On January 3rd, 1889, in Turin, Nietzsche witnessed a horse being beaten. He threw his arms around the animal and collapsed. Mental breakdown followed. He never recovered. He died in 1900, after 11 silent years. After his death, his sister Elizabeth manipulated his unpublished works, aligning them with nationalist and anti-Semitic ideologies. It was a tragic distortion. Nietzsche himself despised anti-Semitism and nationalism. His philosophy was misused in ways he would have rejected. So what did he ultimately say? God is dead was not celebration. It was warning. The overhuman is not a person. It is a direction. The will to power is not tyranny. It is self-mastery. Eternal recurrence is not doom. It is radical affirmation. Nietzsche did not seek to destroy humanity. He sought to awaken it. Do not rely blindly on inherited values. Question them. If they are not truly yours, do not live for them. Create meaning. Face suffering without denial. Become more than you were yesterday. He did not try to kill God. He tried to awaken the sleeping human being. Thank you for watching. This has been Life Inquiry. May you have a joyful and fulfilling day.